What's up guys, gals, and non-binary pals? Nearest here, and Final Fantasy X was a big deal when it released in 2001. It's the first Final Fantasy to drop the pre-rendered backgrounds in favor of fully three-dimensional environments, the first to feature full voice acting, and it dropped the active time battle system that popularized for the Conditional Turn-Based Battle system. It was a departure in many ways, marking a long line of lacking identity that the series still struggles with today. The Final Fantasy series has always been a beloved classic. It popularized turn-based JRPGs in the West with an easy-to-understand battle system and gripping, for the time, by today's standards it is admittedly simplistic, story with a customizable party that allows the creation of characters with different jobs, a bit like classes, making for a deep, replayable JRPG that was revolutionary for the time. The series continued to make strides, with the notable entries being 4 and 7, or 6 and 7, both often heralded as some of the best RPGs of all time, 7 especially being the first game of the series with 3D models and beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds. It was a lot of people's first Final Fantasy. With a change in presentation in 7, the series took a bit of a departure, but it still felt like a Final Fantasy. It continued to make changes, adding a new twist to how magic worked with junctions, a card-like system of drawing for spells, for limited use out of an existing deck. It was a polarizing change, being the first of many instances of new features that don't last. 9 was a return to form. As the last of the single-digit entries, Square decided to take the series back to basics, with the story once again surrounding the crystal for the first time since 5 and 6. The crystal even being in the logo of the game. The game's tagline was, "The crystal comes back," harking back to the classic entries. It dialed back a lot of the steampunk and modern elements that appeared in 6, 7, and 8, returning to a more medieval and fantastical world. It was returned to form, holding a place in hearts as many as the last mainline Final Fantasy game on the original PlayStation. For the first Final Fantasy and more modern hardware, 10 had a lot to live up to. 10 was the last Final Fantasy game that actually felt like Final Fantasy, but that isn't to say there wasn't some drastic changes. Many elements that made the series the phenomenon it became was lost along the way. 10 was more story-focused than any other game in the mainline series, with large cinematic cutscenes, an epic soundtrack, and many plot elements happening in tandem. 10 felt like a huge leap from anything that came before, and a transition to a more story-based entry. A lot of the elements that enriched exploration had to either be altered or cut. The areas are a lot more sectioned off. The world map that had been every previous game was strangely absent, and a linear progression through areas that made the game feel a bit more limiting. The areas still have many secret paths and items to explore, but the explorable world feels drastically smaller than previous entries. What helps the world from being completely small, however, is the masterful world building. Spira feels like a real place, with different races, environments, and cultures throughout that helps make the world a bit more connected. And it makes all the more sense that Titus, the main character, is thrust into this world, making us feel connected with them, as he has many of the same goals we do. Nobuo Uematsu's score here is also extremely well done, as always, with each area having different yet breathtakingly similar pieces that brings the world to life. Another element that makes 10 so drastically different is a believable love story between Tidus and Yuna. They both have issues finding their pace in the world, complementing each other so well with Yuna's quiet and focused demeanor and Tidus' loud and proud personality, weaving together beautifully. They connect so well throughout the story, helping make it that much more interesting to see where the two will end up. They're both uncomfortable with their shoes in their own ways. That makes their love story the most believable in the series. Ever since 10, the Final Fantasy series has struggled to find its identity, however. Final Fantasy 11 was an MMO, 12 had a complete different battle system that tried to make an MMO's combat to a single-player RPG, 13 is one of the most polarizing games in the series, 14 botched its launch and had to be completely rebooted, and 15, Final Fantasy's most recent energy, had development troubles that led to serious issues in storytelling. It is almost as though the idea of what it means to be a Final Fantasy has been lost. 10, however, was a magical experience. It took the series to the modern era, but not all of the changes it made were for the better in the long run. While Final Fantasy as a series lives on, the identity of the series has long since been lost. Only time will tell if the series finds itself again.